Yo, what it do, beautiful people? Thank you for coming to this platform. I am Gene Williams, and this is Unbreakable Souls. We're on episode 11. My goodness. Welcome to the room, my brother and my co-host, Coach Gary Newsom.
What's up? What's up, beautiful people? Coach G in the house, man. What's up? How you doing?
Yes, sir. Man, doing great, man. Nervous about this subject matter, but I'm great
Real talk,
otherwise.
bro. Real talk. Real talk. I
Gotta keep
can't.
it a buck. I'm nervous, man.
I can't deny that. I can't deny that, bro. But yeah, man. As you said, I heard you in the intro. Unbreakable Souls, episode 11. So I mean, it's actually 10.2, but
Right.
or 10 and a half, whatever. But it is 11. So we're gonna take number 11. We're gonna, we had to break this one in the twos because we coming strong today. We're coming with divorce and separation and parental alienation. And I know from a personal standpoint, these both hit home deeply with us.
Right.
That we might have needed some secret sauce.
Oh yes. Some
to
liquid
start
courage.
to start the show, man. Oh, but it's all good, bro. It's all good. You know what I'm saying?
Like the saying goes, what doesn't kill you only makes you stronger. So
Okay, well then let me hit one more.
Yeah, right. Yeah, hey. Cheers, brother. Cheers. Cheers. Clink.
Oh, that's funny, man. No, man, real talk. So, how's your week? Good week, because I know we ended on a hard, sad note last week, and
Right.
knowing that this was coming. So, how was your weekend prep for this?
Oh man. So the week was it was up and down. I had my thinking about actually those subjects that we're about to discuss, especially the parental alienation part of it all.
Yeah.
It was like I said, I had great points, but even this morning, like going to my class, I like Saturdays was my favorite day just to, I'd be off of work. I work early, so I get to spend time with my family.
Mm-hmm.
And just driving to class, it reminded me of that. And I got sad, suddenly. It was like a bass drop. It was like boom.
Right.
Then I just thought I couldn't stop crying. I'm driving to class and stuff, and just like tears are just coming down my face. And again, thankfully, I have a beautiful girlfriend who, she saw me crying. She wiped my tears and stuff, and I'm just like,
oh, that's what's up, man.
I'm just, and something I say often, especially in those times. I hate the build up that requires that release,
Right.
Tears. But I'm tired of being sad. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm tired of missing my children, and like I've done nothing to deserve not seeing my kids.
Right.
So just when I see other kids, it's like it's bittersweet. I still have a lot of fun with a lot of kids, and that's the deal with me. Like kids gravitate towards me, and I know they gravitate towards you as well.
Yeah.
So it's like it's bittersweet because you get to spend time with other people's kids, but you don't get to spend time with your own.
Right.
And I'm gonna use. Go ahead.
No, it's nothing like it, man. I mean, as much as the surrogate children help, in my case, my boys are grown. So the Lord has brought me spiritual sons, especially I'm a recruiter in a college. So, I get to work with young men every day and build bonds and relationships, and it's rewarding, special. But man, there's nothing like your own blood. I miss my boys. They're my heart. Everything I feel like I've ever done and built was for them. Yeah. So, and for them not to see that and to judge their dad so harshly. I mean, I remember talking to my middle son about cancel culture, the society that's out there, and then they turn around and do that to me. So, but in therapy, I've learned I can't control other people's thoughts, feelings, opinions. As painful as that is, like you said, I don't feel like I've done anything, especially to them, to warrant the isolation and the death sentence Because that's what it is for me. It's a death sentence. They don't talk to me, don't want anything to do with me. And honestly, I don't even still know why. But I spent a year suffering in silence with that. And I just decided I can't live my life that way, because if I was going to live my life that way, I might as well take my life,
Exactly.
Because that's where I was headed back to. So I'm just like, I can't do that. I remember in those darkest moments, man, coming out of the divorce, and all the different stuff that, I needed them to be there and they weren't there. But, I kind of came to a realization that I need to live for my babies, meaning my grandkids. I have 6 granddaughters. So it was them, seeing their faces every day, that pulled me out of that bottle, that pulled me back into a state of sanity, as in going through, hospitalization and therapy. It's them that pulled me out and brought me back to life. So, and now not to have access to that.
Yeah.
So I just got to find new whys, man, new whys to still be here. So.
Yeah. It's something that my mom tells me all the time. And this is a universal law anyway, that everything is temporary. The isolation that you're experiencing from your sons because of the divorce, it won't be that way forever. And I have to keep telling myself that,
I have to keep telling myself that.
Yeah. It's tough because sometimes despair sets in for me. I know for sure. Like, I just be like, man, like, my daughter hates me. Like, what have I ever done for her to hate me? Like, that was my best friend. I was her protector. Like, I was the one that, I'd be going all day working and come home, and she wouldn't leave her room until I got home.
Wow,
and she would sprint to me and hop in my arms, Daddy. I miss that. I haven't heard my daughter call me Daddy in over 3 years. Wow. I haven't gotten a hug from her in over 3 years.
Wow, man. I'm sorry, bro.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
And, man, I mean, you know what? Hell, we're here. Fuck it. I had to, it got to the point where I had to start paying for, paying someone so that I could spend time with my daughter. You know what I mean? Like paid visitations. Like I'm paying $150 to spend 2 hours with my daughter in a public place with someone supervising me.
Wow. As if you're some criminal and gonna hurt her.
Exactly. And I've done nothing to deserve that to my ex or to my children. I mean, that I was not perfect, but it was never anything that deserved, being watched, you know what I mean? Or being isolated away from my children. We all deal with stress and depression. And for me, in the relationship that I was in, it was a lack of ability to communicate with my partner in an effective manner.
Right.
It was like as soon as I started to express something, she would turn defensive, and then it became an argument. And it's like, I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm trying to express my feelings to you.
Yeah.
And another thing that I hate with a passion, and I have to check myself on this too. In the heat of passion, don't interrupt the person that's talking. Actively listen. And when you're trying to express yourself and the person constantly cuts you off, it's like they don't care about how.
So your words don't mean anything, yeah.
Exactly. And so I would get angry because it's like I grew up feeling like I couldn't speak my mind. I couldn't openly say, hey, I don't like this. Or I don't like that, And it was that way, but it was worse. You know what I mean? It was worse. Like it was always like I try to speak to you and it turns into an argument. So either I go off or I shut down. And I was tired of that. You know what I mean? It's like after a while you it's exhausting. And
I
then
feel that, man.
And you feel like the strength that you built is like slowly chipped down, like someone is taking a chisel and a hammer and just breaking down your strength. And after a while, it's like you start to do stuff that you know is not you. I became a person that was always on edge, so I'm always tense. Like when you're walking on eggshell at all times, it's not a good place to be because you don't sleep well. You're always in a state of stress, and then you can't talk to the person. So it's like, what do I do?
Yeah.
What do I do?
I feel you, bro. I'm just sitting here thinking though, as you're talking, I'm wondering, are they following us?
Probably so.
No, I'm talking about our audience. What I'm saying in regards to that, we are talking about, so what we're going to talk about today is divorce and separation and parental alienation. So divorce and separation, we want to really talk about discussing the feelings of loss, grief, and really upheaval that can accompany the end of a significant relationship. We want to address the societal expectations around masculinity that make it challenging for us as men to express our emotions and to seek support during these difficult times.
Right.
People have to understand. So that's our first point we're going to address today, divorce and separation. That's where we started. And I know we just kind of jumped in without any structure, but this is raw for us, y'all. So give us some grace. Give us some grace here, because you have to understand that divorce is a ripping of flesh.
Right.
So when two people come together and bond in holy matrimony and you make love and all of that, and you have soul ties, so many different soul ties in a marriage, proximity soul tie because you spend so much time together, the sexual soul ties, there's just so many different things.
Mental,
so when
emotional.
Mentals are tied, your body, your physical, your soul, your spirit. So when you get divorced, it's a ripping.
Right. So there, Coach, you're frozen on my side.
Yeah, it looks like he froze there, so he might have to go back out and in and everything along those lines. But I was hearing that deepness that he was having and all along those lines. So hopefully he can go back out and come back in, because it does look like he's frozen on this side. And it does happen sometimes. But y'all were talking about that whole divorce situation. Like I told you before, I haven't had that pleasure. Still trying to find that right and miss one and everything. But I do know that sometimes divorce and separation can even happen in the single life, as you know,
Right.
Gene, because definitely you can be engaged in that space even when you are not necessarily in the marriage space. Because I know that I've mentioned that I have been in relationships that ended abruptly. I told you that one time I literally had to walk away just because I was feeling a little bit too much pressure and that it was not going in the right direction and all along those lines. And I think I told you about another time that a person was being a little bit too bold and was kind of claiming parental property before we had even gotten to the point of being in the relationship or having a official relationship. And I do remember that there was, that might have been that same lady that was making those kind of like random, non-random trips to the diamond and jewelry store just to try to talk you into getting married, even though you might not have been in that mindset at that particular time. And I know one thing that women talk about a lot, and I'm not sure y'all's thoughts about this, and hopefully Coach will come back and y'all can get more into the parental separation and the parental stuff that y'all are going to talk about. But I know a lot of times women talk about men that they feel are not willing to commit. They call them commitment phobes. And I know that I've been accused of that at times and all along those lines. But I just wonder maybe if you could explore that for a little bit while we're waiting for Coach to come back, because I do know that that sometimes even plays into the divorce conversation, because sometimes women are feeling that they're not getting the right level, and men too, of what they want in the relationship.
Right. Yeah. So when you connect with a person emotionally, mentally, sexually, that's a bond. It's a marriage, regardless if you have a ring or not. Like it's a spiritual connection. It's a spiritual bond, and when you have created that bond, and it's broken. It's heartbreaking because you've invested you've invested energy and time and and love into a person, and then when it breaks down, it's traumatizing.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely traumatizing. Man, like relationships are tough. Like when you two people who have separate mindsets, separate lives, and you come together and create one together, that's a bond. Like soul ties happen on so many levels.
Right.
And when the separation, when it happens, it'll break you if you don't have the proper protocol to help you process the feelings.
Yeah, and sometimes it can also be some mental aspects that go in there as well. Because I remember another ex, and they had a lot of trauma in their life and everything. But probably the most traumatic thing, and this was probably multiple decades ago, and everything that probably gave me a clue that it wasn't a good relationship. And all along those lines was earlier before the show, you were talking about how, and I'm not knocking gun ownership. People have every right to have guns and go to ranges and things along those lines. But I do remember one ex that used that kind of knowledge almost as an intimidation factor. So, when you're in the middle of a sexual relationship and all of a sudden a gun comes in the middle of the play. And so they're letting you know that they've got that in their arsenal, for lack of a better term, and everything. It can definitely do some mind tricks on you and everything. I do remember that was one of the things that took place in one of my relationships many years ago. It's like, I don't even know where the thing came from. It might have been under the bed for all I know, but they just kind of like popped it into the relationship, and you're sitting there going like, well, one, I didn't know you had one of those, and two, I'm not trying to get taken out of this world in this particular situation because you are feeling that the relationship isn't going the way that you want it to go, and all along those lines. So that was very kind of intimidating, but also very mentally abusive and emotionally abusive when you just have a weapon come out of nowhere, because I had no clue that the person, I don't even think I knew the person that owned one. I mean, I have some friends that have guns, not just you, but others as well. And some of them are even females. I'm not knocking females for having weapons at their disposal, but if you're in the middle of a relationship and it just pops up out of nowhere, that can definitely do some head tricks on you. So I know that took place some 15 or 20 years ago.
Yeah, that's a total manipulation. So they're gonna present a gun, to manipulate you into doing what they want you to do.
Right.
Like, so in essence, you just threatened my life.
Right.
You just threatened my life. So I'm about to get out of here because I don't want to wake up dead.
Exactly. Exactly.
Man. But I mean, man, just relationships are, because we all have our trauma. Like we've all come from something that we've experienced before. So to basically force you to do what they want you to do, you know what I mean, by presenting a weapon into the relationship is first off a death threat, and a total manipulation and control. Yeah. And that's when you wait till they go to sleep, take the gun and get out.
Exit stage left and everything.
There you go.
And I did not exit stage left immediately, but I did exit shortly thereafter. Because I was sitting there going like, this is a little bit too scary when that is popping up out of nowhere. Like I said, I don't even know. And we were in the middle of a intense, because it was a very intense relationship. I think they were a fellow water sign and everything. And when they pops up out of the middle of nowhere, like I said, we're in the middle of some heated moment, and all of a sudden that gets introduced into it, and it's not even introduced like some people introduce a whip or some other things as part of the sex play, but it was not part of the sex play. It was just like you said, a tool of manipulation and all along those lines. So I'm sitting there.
Wait a minute, what did I walk back into?
He like the whips. Hey, listen, bro, that's a whole nother show right there. Whole nother show.
What did I have technical difficulties, and I walked back into the show to whips and chains. I thought we were talking about divorce separation. I come back.
We were talking about divorce and separation, and I was sharing while you were gone. I was sharing with Gene a couple of incidents that happened in my own life. I said that even though it is something that you folks that have been in marriages or in long-term relationships are part of, that it can impact those of us that are in single life as well. So I was just refreshing his memory about what I had told y'all about last week, which is the young lady that kind of had done some manipulation with the house and trying to claim the household of my mom and everything.
Right.
And in that space, but I was also mentioning, which I had not mentioned in the show before, another young lady decades ago that within the midst of the relationship introduced guns as part of the relationship dynamic. So she was letting me know that we were having a hot and heavy moment that she had that gun there. It was like a form of manipulation, but also a threat as well. So that's what we were talking about.
She threatened my life.
Yes,
she pulled out the pistola and was like,
yes.
if we fight.
Like, okay.
Oh yeah, they'd have been trying to walk her out the door. You know,
yeah. Like I said,
you have to arm yourself and walk her out the door.
Yeah, well, and I was not. I was in her property. That's what I'm saying. I don't know where I don't even know where the weapon came from because I don't know where the weapon.
Yeah.
There you go. As soon as you
now I get why we. Okay. Yeah.
Now you get where we were going in that conversation. But if you want to turn it back over to you, I do have to teach you about something just on a lighter note and everything about that line because you had said something that many people on this show, because I've got other friends that are been in long relationships, been parts of extended families and everything. But I'm trying to figure out, Coach, because you don't have that much gray hair. I've got more gray hair than you do and everything. And you said that you have, if I heard you correctly, I think it's something like 4 or 5 kids and 6 grandkids. I'm going there like I need to know where Coach found the Fountain of Youth because somewhere he's found it and all along those lines because he does not look a day over his age. So I want to know where you found the Fountain of Youth and whether I can get a copy of it or get some of that drink as well. Because it looks to me like when you said 6 grandkids, and I have a very dear friend of mine that has got, as a matter of fact, that her grandkids are the salt of her eyes and everything because she's very much in that single space and all along those lines. But every time she talks about her grandkids, she gets more joy than her kids because they've got some parental kid issues within that family. I'll just leave it at that and everything. But whenever she talks about her grandkids, I'm sitting there going like, I think those are your kids. The way that she talks about that joy that comes out of her voice. But just coming back to you, Coach G, I'm going like, there is no way that he is got 6 grandkids. That's like impossible. The man's only like about 25 or 30 years old. So
there we go.
You found the Fountain of Youth at.
Do that times 2, Mark. I'm actually 53. I have 3 adult sons. Dante is 33, Dex is 31, and Devin, I believe, is 26, 27. And between Dante and Dex, I have 6 granddaughters.
Wow.
6 granddaughters. So, yeah. I mean,
How
I started
about
marriage at 18. I was 18 when I got married. We were together, married 32, together 34. So, long time, man. It's like 68% of my life,
Yeah.
Right.
So, she was all I knew.
Right.
Yeah. I grew up with her, literally.
Yeah.
Literally.
I was 22, so 23 when I got married, and my ex and I were together, married for 17 years, together for 18 and a half. So, big chunk of my life. I'm only 42, so, it's a big chunk of my life. It's almost half.
I will turn it back over to y'all so get back on track and everything. But just really quick, Coach, before I duck out and everything, do you sometimes think that it is poetic justice? Because you just said that you had 3 sons, and I know that it is one thing to raise sons, it's another thing to raise daughters, and you just said that the granddaughters are 6 granddaughters. So I just wondered if there's some poetic justice, the fact that you had 3 guys in terms of the ones that came directly from your loins and the relationship you had with the woman and everything, and now they are creating girls and everything. So I just wondered how that works.
I lost 4, and I believe 2 of those were girls. So, it's poetic justice to me. God has a sense of humor. I love it. I love being a poppy to 6 girls. So, I love it. I love it. Not that I don't want a grandson to carry the name on. That's important, but man, I love having these girls.
Yeah, they bring something else out of you.
Yeah.
They bring out that soft side, So I have a bonus son, I mean, to me, he's my son. I've been in his life since he was 17 months old. So that's my son. He's 22 now.
That's your boy,
well,
man. Yeah.
About to be 22.
Yeah. You're all you know.
Yeah. So that's my son. Like, to me, like, I wasn't there to help, create him, but
it's not about that, man.
Yeah, right.
I've learned,
it's not
that's important. Obviously, you be the one that was there to create the child, but it's the father is the one who's there in their lives, who's doing the grind day to day, right, with them to help form them into the young man or woman that they have become. So, yeah.
Sorry to bother y'all again and everything, but that actually raises an interesting question. How important do you think it is when you're in relationships to stay connected? Because like I said, I think I've told y'all before on the show that I've had some relationships, some that have been short-term, some that have been relatively long-term, none that have been extensively long-term, the kind of years that y'all are talking about and everything. But I do have some friends that I was dating, and I got to know their kids. And in some cases, the kids and me have actually stayed in greater contact than I did with the actual ladies that I was dating. And in some cases, I regret to lose in touch with some of the kids that I knew quite well. But because of that separation and because of the fact of them going their different paths, and there might have been myths and lies told about me that they were not able to connect and keep that connection and all along those lines. But I do regret that sometimes, and sometimes even my own mom will ask about certain ones of them that I used to know and all in that space because she got to know them during those brief time frames. So how important do you think it is to maintain those connections, whether it's in the dating world or in the marriage world, to those children?
Extremely, because as the kids are growing up, like, you are a father figure to them. Whether you're their biological father or not, your energy is something that they're going to remember.
Right.
And it's very important for you to stay connected to them so they have at least some sense of normalcy as it pertains to a paternal unit. It's as a kid who, now my parents were married until I was like 4. They got divorced, which is a big thing. In essence, the point is, like, having that connection to a paternal unit, especially when the paternal unit is the one that provides that structure for you, that protective property, that as a man, it teaches you how to be a man. And as a woman, it teaches you how to look for a partner that will be a perfect fit for you. Because, I mean, think about it. As men, we marry our mothers. I mean, that's a fact. And as women, we marry our fathers. Why I say we? Like, I'm a woman. But women...
You got feminine side in
your father, right? I'm both, y'all. Hey!
I know you, man.
No, but it's extremely important to have the continuity of a relationship with a strong male. What's the word I'm looking for?
And sometimes the continuity you don't even recognize, because I know that in my case, my mother and dad were married, because I think I told y'all before on the show, they got divorced when I was in college. Malik, my younger brother, would have been in, I think, either high school. No, he's 7 years younger, so he would have been about junior high and everything. And I'm sure that the divorce impacted him differently than me, because I was gone and away. I think I got a phone call that they were getting divorced or separated and then divorced and everything, whereas he was going through that directly. And even to your point, Gene, and everything, sometimes when I look at my dad's other half, because he's been together with Linda. He's got a couple other girlfriends, but Linda has been his longtime lady love, and they've been together for longer than he was with mom. I think they've been together for about 25 years or something like that. And a lot of times people would see her and see my mom and not see a lot of similarities. I mean, she's a Jewish American lady and is definitely from the white side of the fence and all along those lines. A mom is definitely a sister and definitely in that space. So people would be like, don't necessarily see the similarity, but I can say that they are both strong women and strong women figures. So if I think about it, there is some similarity and a type that dad likes. See, like somebody that can be intellectually stimulating to him, because I think that both of them are intellectually stimulating women and all in that space. I'm sure that part of their relationship was whatever that physical aspect of. Part of it that created me, and of course, me and Linda has got her own kids, and they haven't got any kids of their own that they created. But I do know that she is very intellectually sound person, and just like I know my mom is. So I'm thinking that intellectual stimulation is what that common bond was that you're talking about. So if people saw like a picture of Linda, a picture of my mom, they'd be like, "What is the commonality?" the reason Jim, that's my dad, would be attracted to these. But I'm thinking it's because he's attracted to those that are intellectually stimulating him and that he can relate to in that sense.
Right. And also the person who's intellectually stimulating, it helps you grow, because this person who's, basically your intellectual equal, they can challenge you to grow in ways when you're stubborn or stuck in your ways. And that's what you want. You want a person who not only supports you and helps you.
First time visitor.
Yeah, right, exactly. Hey, the official King Rose, first time here. Good day, Kings. Hey, good day, King.
Good day, bro.
Good day.
We definitely need that. A person who pushes us to be the best version of ourselves and doesn't let us slack. You know what I'm saying? You need that. You need that person who's gonna be like that poker. Hey, you're doing wrong. Hey, no, you gotta be more focused in this. Well, you've been slacking on this. You need somebody who is that person who will see you as you are and recognize the potential in you, and then helps you, manifest that.
Bro, that's so good, man.
Yeah,
that's so good, because that's what's I had to pivot, going through different experiences in relationships post divorce. I've probably had 3 significant ones post divorce. But I've learned coming out of that exactly right. Intellectual, emotional intelligence.
Right.
So when I say ride or die, that's what I'm talking about. A woman that understands me, sees me, that I can have deep, last longing conversations with on various topics.
Right.
Not just one thing. We can talk faith. We can talk, our goals. We can talk about the hard things. She's not afraid to dive in and talk about our differences.
Right.
Just everything. It's not about looks. The word tells us that beauty is fleeting. So, these men that are out here hooking up with women just because she's fine. Yeah, she's fine today.
Right. Exactly.
And I get to a degree. If that's your woman and you marry her and all that, she's going to always be fine to you. But I'm saying the beauty is fleeting, man. That's the beauty of her is going to check out at some point. And if that's all you've invested into that relationship, man, you were waiting for failure. So,
Coach, along those same lines and everything, but you got some people that are so busy wanting to sign the fine woman, that woman that is very much appealing to the eye, not just to themselves, but to others as well. And just like you just said, there is no guarantee, and I'm not wishing ill on anybody, that they couldn't go out into the world on today and be in a car wreck and not be the same kind of person that you were when you were first involved in with them and everything. And then the question becomes, are you willing to stand up with them during those heartbreaks and heartaches? Because I've got a couple of friends that have had their women have some significant surgeries, ranging from heart transplants to, I think one was involved in a kidney transplant and a number of other things. So we know that you really got to be devoted to the relationship to stay in that relationship, because there's no telling what's going to go in that context when it is something that is life-threatening.
Right. Well, it can be something as simple as childbirth.
Right.
You could produce a child together, and then men lose interest in their woman because now her body has changed.
Right.
Because their investment was all in the physical.
Right. Exactly. Right.
So, that's temporal, man. That's going to be a constant change. I think your investment has to be in the wholeness, the eternity of that woman. That was some of the main reasons of my divorce, man. We grew apart and became different people because we never invested in learning who we were. First of all, we were 18. I was 18. She was 16. Get married. So we were so young. We weren't even, of age to make decisions. So we had to grow up as individuals and together. And, we just finally grew apart. Our thought process was completely different. So
Right.
I'm dedicated to that now, man. I'm, just out of a relationship. So I'm okay with being single, man. I'm okay until I find the right person that is an intellectual, that is, stimulates me that way, that is that ride or die, that has my back, that understands me, that sees me, gets me. Because I'm different, and I take pride in being different. I don't want to be like anybody else.
Yes, sir.
I want to be the exception.
Right.
That's what divorce has taught me, man.
Right.
That I want to be the exception, and I deserve an exceptional woman.
Right.
But
I feel
coach,
like-
and this is, but coach, along those same lines, and this might get into trouble with certain people that listen and all along those lines, but I've alluded to it before, but there are institutions that sometimes don't know how to handle divorce. And I'd love to hear your thoughts about that, because a lot of times the church and all along those lines are trying to get people. I actually had a dear friend of mine that stayed. She's now married to a brother, it's a white woman and everything, but she married a brother. But at the time that she was going through the divorce, the man was being abusive, and the church that she was involved in was trying to find ways to keep them together, because they were feeling that it was, against church morals to be against for divorce and everything along those lines. So I do know that some of our institutions don't know how to handle divorce. And then the flip side of that is that some of our kind of born again churches and everything are too quick to try to match you together. I think I told you that I've run into folks that are in that kind of church environment. So as soon as you walk in the door with the woman and they are part of that church family, they're telling you that they are the prophets. And the prophets have told you that you will be their next husband or their next whatever. I'm going like, I don't even know if I like you or your church yet, and you're trying to decide that I'm going to be joining y'all in holy matrimonial for this day on and everything. But I know, Coach, you're in that religious space. I just want to hear your thoughts about both of those things that I bring up.
Oh man, my divorce, my whole viewpoint on that has changed because of my divorce. I mean, yes, I still believe that God doesn't want divorce. We got a new first timer there too.
Yeah.
Bless you, our sister. Bless you, our sister. We're honored that you're here. But man, no, it changed my whole viewpoint. I mean, again, I know God is not a proponent of divorce, doesn't support divorce, but also he doesn't support abuse. And that can be emotional, that can be physical, especially when at least one of the parties in the relationship has tried and tried and tried. You can't force the other partner to do their part. I mean, you can't move a parked car.
Right.
So, I just felt like in mine, I kept trying, we need to work on this, or we need to work on that. Maybe we need therapy, or we need, all these different things. And there was just no budge. And then there's the withdrawal of emotion and feeling and sex and all these different things that left me feeling like I was out on an island. Right. The enemy being the enemy, right? The enemy being the enemy knows my desires. So what does he send in front of me now? Right. So women that are saying the things that I need to hear and willing to do the things that I want to do. So every time that happened, it made me in a place of regret, resentment to my wife. Every time a woman came on to me, I resented her. Some of the relationships that I've been in since that, every time a woman hits on me, the person that I'm with, I resent them, because I'm like, here I am again. Someone else sees me way beyond than what you see. How am I laying up in bed with you, building a life with you, building up a relationship with you, and you can't see these things in me, and a total stranger comes in and tells me how great I am.
Right.
And I'm not talking about, guys, I'm not talking about surface stuff.
Right.
Surface on the outside stuff that really speak into your soul. Again, I'm not making any excuses for guys that, if we get out and do things and we cheat or whatever like that. That's not an excuse. But I'm saying a lot of times, men and women, we get in these spaces with help and support because we're left uncovered. Yep. Our partner left us wide open for the assault of the enemy. And that's why my viewpoint is. Say it again.
I said, and then they're mad.
Right.
And they're mad, and sometimes I will tell them myself as well as every time, because sometimes we also get caught up in things that we think are not necessarily cheating, but if we're being perfectly honest with ourselves, it is a form of cheating and all along those lines, because I'd be lying, and I'm not going to lie to my two brothers here if I didn't say that there were times that I was involved in online relationships, for lack of a better term, and everything. But that is a form of cheating, and I had to get older and understand that, to understand that that was a form of cheating, because I was not feeling comfortable in the relationship. So I turned toward online situations and all along those lines, whether it was, Black Singles, which used to be back in the day, or whether it was an online dating site and all along those lines, and don't even know whether the people were real on the other side or not, but it was an escapism.
Exactly.
So,
Yes, exactly, man. See, that's me. It's been escapism, trying to attain or to gain those needs that my partner wasn't providing. I mean, not by any means defending, protecting. It was wrong.
Right.
But again, I say I didn't get to that space by myself.
Right.
And then when you go back to the partner that wants to take no accountability for the things that they didn't provide for you.
Right.
How did these other people who don't know me from Adam speak life to me?
Right.
And you know me.
Right.
But you can't speak life to me.
Right.
Or choose not to speak life to me.
Right. And to that point, the people that are sometimes doing it to you in that kind of virtual world, they might not know you from Adam, and they might not even be who they are pretending to be, but at least they know the words to say and the buttons to push to make you feel that you are getting some sort of relief, even if it's not real relief, but you're feeling like you're being emotionally heard, and that you're being heard mentally in all the ways that we want to be heard. So if they knew the buttons to push, and like I said, they could be sitting there in Timbuktu laughing their ass off, not even really engaged, but they know enough to create enough of a persona to make you think that they're engaged.
Right.
See, I want to throw this out there. I think men have become so broken. We always talk about women being broken, but I want to say men have become so broken, and I'm going to speak from the heart because this is me, that there's I would say all men know and desire, having a thought and a desire of the type of woman that they want. Mm-hmm. And because of the trauma experiences that they've had and different dating situations, they get a woman that is so foreign from what their expectation is, what they're used to, that the love that woman provides is so foreign. It's actually what they desire in their heart of hearts, but since they've never had it, it's so foreign that they run. They self-sabotage that situation. And what do? We go back to what's familiar. We go back to what's familiar. Come on, Mark. I
had to laugh there because you were talking about
I had to hit it on it there.
No, you hit it on the nail. Not only that, but we self-sabotage, and sometimes we don't even recognize the gift that is there. Because I know a lot of times there have been a number of situations, and I've said it on this show, I've said it on other shows as well, that sometimes we are so busy being afraid of our own reality and afraid of our own situation that we don't even go after the gifts that are there. And then when it turns around, as I think I mentioned to y'all last week, that a friend of mine is actually now dating somebody that I thought was the cat's meow and all along those lines, but I never pursued the person. So I really can't claim any fault other than my own, but I was too busy talking myself out of it, because we can also talk ourselves out of relationships as well. I know that there are times that we will sit there and recognize somebody that could be the person that needs to be in our life, but we're too busy sitting there going like, "Nah, they'll never talk to me. I'm not their type. They're go for this type."
What about when you actually have them? They want you. That's who you're dating now. That woman is the epitome of everything you thought and you dreamed of. You have now right in front of you. But you are so broken as a man, so used to not having your needs met, that it's scary as hell.
Like shit.
Yeah, I try not to cuss, and it's you that runs. You are the one who self-sabotages and runs.
Yep.
Because you're just like, this cannot be this true. This cannot be this good. It can't be real. And what do you do?
When is the other shoe gonna drop?
You fall back and go back to what's familiar.
Right.
Even though you know it's trauma.
Right.
Even though you know it's toxic, you fall back and go back to what's familiar.
But it's what you're used to. It's
right.
It's the stasis.
It's safe.
You place yourself in.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
Safe, yeah.
And so you go back to something that you know is going to break you down because it's what you used to, as opposed to what actually builds you up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the crazy thing. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. The relationship between my current girlfriend and I did not expect it. I was not looking for it, nor was she. But like, she is everything that I've been looking for without even looking for it. You know what I'm saying?
I envy
Like,
that,
we
brother.
were just friends, and we helped each other through a lot of traumatic experiences within that time frame of the separation between my ex-wife and I. And it just, after a while, it just became so natural, but it took a while. And it's still, sometimes I like, okay, wait a minute, Gene. You're overthinking.
Right.
You're about to push her away.
Right.
Calm down. And recognizing it's trauma, it's making you push away. So, acknowledge the trauma, process your feelings, and then drop that stuff, because it's not something that she's doing. It's something that, because you're afraid of a repeat of what you experienced, then you put up those walls, and you realize, damn, I shouldn't be so damn distant. You know what I mean? Let me tear this wall down and let her in. I'm still like,
but Gene, I got to come back because one of the things I got to say is that those walls are not just always of our own making and everything. Because if I hear, and I'm not saying that is nothing wrong with having friends of the opposite sex and all along those lines, but I do sometimes think that the friend box is a wall that sometimes women and other people put up as well. So I'm not saying that you can't be friends and have friends that are females and everything, but I do get frustrated sometimes when you get automatically placed in that friend box and you're sitting there going like, that's not what I want from you. I want an actual relationship, and we need to explore this possibility. So I do get frustrated sometimes by that friend box, and that's just me being real and very real, as we do on this show and everything.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being in the friend zone. I mean, that's how you learn the person, and maybe it will evolve and become a romantic relationship. But I mean, you don't want to force nothing. You want it to be natural. You want it to be natural. You want them to want to be there in that space with you. So I mean, I look at it like this. You want me to be your friend? Cool, we can be friends. I'm cool with that. And like I said, with the situation I'm in right now, like it was just a friendship. Like, we were friends. We were both like kind of sounding boards for each other.
Right.
And then in that process, we fell in love. And it was the weirdest. This is our show, so it was the weirdest shit. It was the weirdest shit in the world to me, because I was like, I don't want to be with nobody right now. I'm still going through this divorce, this separation, this tearing, like you said, tearing of flesh. And honestly, I don't want to be with anybody. But it was like, the more I was around her, the more that I wanted her to be around, And and that's kind of how it goes when you find the one that you're supposed to be with. It's not forced. Actually, you probably be trying to run. It's like they got a bungee cord to pull you back.
But Gene, this is for both you and Coach, because I know a number of people, both men and women, that I've been talking to, and all along those lines. At what point, and this is, like I said, I've not been in that space. So I've been in the space of the breakup, and sometimes they say you even need space in the breakup in the single space as well. But one of the things that people think about in that relationship is there are some people that want to dive right into it as soon as the relationship ends, and there are other people that I sometimes think give too long of a grace period and everything, because I've also seen some people that don't want to get into a relationship till 3 or 4 years down the line. So I agree that you don't want to rush back into a relationship after you break up a relationship, but I also think that 3 to 4 years might be too long. So I just want to, in y'all's opinion, what is a good grace period of healing for as you end one relationship and go into another?
To me, it depends upon the person.
Right.
It's
individual.
For some people, it's individual choice. For me, I was wanting to be single for like 3-4 years, but it didn't happen like that. And I'm the happiest I've ever been. But for some people, you know, you may need to be single for a year, 2, 3, you know. So I mean, no one size fits all is a remedy. You get what I'm saying? It may take for you a few months, or may take for you a few years. Honor who you are.
Right.
Honor the space of healing within yourself, so that you can come to the next relationship with a better mindset, a better perspective, and you can actually feed the person that you're with, and they can feed you as well.
Right.
A lot of us. Go ahead.
No, I mean, because at our age, as you're saying, we have all been through experiences. So any new relationship we enter, most likely we bring baggage into that. So it's of great importance, as Gene has said, that we do our due diligence to do the work,
right?
You know, to heal ourselves before we bring that damage, and then we end up creating secondary trauma to the person that we enter a relationship with, it, or that secondary trauma is now inflicted upon us by the new person. So, I mean, go ahead, Mark.
You know, you're saying to Gene's point and everything. Sometimes you don't know the nature of what you're going to get into and everything. I have like I mentioned, I've got that friend, and we're just friends and everything. You know, we've explored the possibility of relationship that is in that grandma zone and all along those lines. But I do know that I have a very good, a cousin of mine that literally his second wife, and he had some trauma in his first wife, and he's somewhat estranged, kind of like what you're talking about with your daughter from his from his only daughter, because he only got one kid that is his. He's got some kids from this. They've been together, him and Bridget, for a number of years and everything. But he's got kids that he has raised that are her kids, and all in that space. But I remember that even though he was estranged from his daughter, and she's gone on to some success, I think, in the volleyball field in college, and now is out of college and everything. But he is totally estranged from his daughter and has very little contact with her and all along those lines. But I also know that when he first got together with his current wife, that his own mother, and I will say maybe even his father, was sitting there going like, do you realize that you're getting not just a ready-made family, but a ready-made grand family? And there was a lot of teasing in that regard, but they seem to have worked it out quite well. And he's a military person, Coach G. So he, like I said, some of that military discipline is probably what helped him in that relationship and everything. But like I said, they've been together for decades. And like I said, I know that one of Emmett's great regrets is that he's not as attached to his own daughter as he would like to be, but he is very attached to his wife's kids and all in that space. So that's a lot of times what you don't know is what God is going to give you, because God might give you something that you weren't expecting. Is my kind of point. Because I'm sure that even though his aunt, my aunt, his mother passed away, I do not think she was a big fan of him jumping into that relationship because of the fact that it was ready-made family and ready-made grand family.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to throw something out too, real quick. I don't know if they're still here. You know, the official King Rose. He was a first timer with us today, and sincerely yours, Nadia. I'm not sure if she's still here, but you know, if they're still here, I would love to hear their perspective on some of what we're talking about today. I don't know. I think Nadia may have burned out on us because I think her last comment was saying goodbye. But you know, if she's still here, sister, I would love to hear your perspective. And then our fellow king, the official King Rose, you know, if you've got something to say, you know, shout out to us, brother.
Right. Yeah, definitely appreciate you all for showing up and tuning into the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, it's been tough, bro.
Yeah, it's been tough.
Yeah. Did you hear the part I said? Did I fade out on that? The ripping I was talking about earlier?
And you literally got froze when you did this. So if you can repeat that, like the ripping of flesh when you divorce or separate.
Well, it's literally the best way for me, the visual. I don't know if what's that movie for Easter that Mel Gibson did, the Christ movie,
Passion of the Christ.
Passion of the Christ, where they're beating him with the whip, and then they change. The Romans were so brutal. They go get what's called a cat of nine tails, which is like glass and nails and stuff like that.
Bones.
Yeah, so it claws into your skin, and then when they pull it, that's flesh being ripped off. I mean, that was insane imagining Jesus went through that. But That's what divorce is like, bro.
Yeah.
Divorce is literally the ripping of flesh, because you have joined and become one body, one mind, one soul, one spirit. So it's a ripping of all of those things. That's why it's so painful. That's why there's such a void left in people when they come out of divorce. They're empty. I was doing the math. 65% of my life, I'm 53, 65% of my life I was in marriage with my ex-wife.
Right.
That's all I knew.
Right.
So
yeah, so it was like
coming out of that.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No. Go ahead. I was saying, so you're basically pulling yourself out of the reality that you are used to create a new one, and the majority of your life was this relationship.
Yep. So I had to find myself all over again. I had to find, what does Gary like? What does Gary? What interests me? What, who am I? First of all,
right.
Not alone, trying to date somebody, but number one, who am I?
Right.
What do I even like in a woman?
Right.
What are my desires? What are my needs? It took me the longest just to figure that out. So, but I feel like I'm there now. I know what I want. I know who I am, first of all.
Right.
I know who I am. I know where I'm going. I know what I want and I desire my mate. So,
and that's first and foremost. Before you hop into a relationship, period, you have to have a very detailed knowledge of yourself.
Word.
Because if you don't, you're coming to a relationship damaged already,
right,
with a lack of self-knowledge. And then merging with another person, it's like you begin to adopt and adapt to the reality that you create together, and you begin to lose yourself. And that's what happened to me. We were mad young. We weren't even necessarily ready to get married. But it was kind of pushed by the older generation for us to get married because it looks wrong, wrong for us to
it's
be
better to marry than to burn, as Mark was talking about the church.
Right. He's like, nah, I mean, I'm different. But we did it because I'll say personally, I did it because I didn't want to lose her. But she wasn't ready, just like I wasn't ready. And it was a discussion that we had closer to the end of our relationship. Like, neither one of us were really ready to be married like that. We had only been dating for a year and 2 months before we got married. And like at that time, like she was 25, I was 23. And there was still a lot of growing up that we both had to do.
Right.
And I just realized that like we did it to uphold the status quo, and it ended up tearing us apart, like both as individuals and collectively. Like it tore us apart trying to uphold someone else's vision of what's right, but it wasn't right for us.
Right.
And I think try to hold together, sticky paste together a relationship that was not fully mature to form a life going forward together. It just didn't work. We like you said with your wife, we grew apart. Our values were different. Our mindsets were different. And I mean, and that's not a bad thing, because in a situation where your partner is one way and you're another way, there's the ability or the opportunity to adapt and grow and evolve to a higher value or higher version of yourself. But it has to be from the standpoint that you both respect each other's differences and recognize them as a way, a different perspective to help you see the world in a broader sense.
Makes a lot of sense. We can go a little bit over and everything because I know that Coach bounced off and everything. I got to tease y'all about something. I'm thinking that both of y'all may be, because I was looking up stuff while y'all were talking. I'm thinking that y'all are not exactly going to be, because they say the divorce rate And like I said, I'm not even had the pleasure of getting married.
50%.
My brother's been married twice, but they say that it is incredibly high and everything. And I actually I was doing a talk about the history of Durham and its connection to Duke University a couple of weeks ago, and I met a young lady from this state that I'm getting ready to mention it and everything. But I'm thinking that you don't want to go to Arkansas because apparently Arkansas leads the state in divorces. So that apparently, if you
What?
it says that Arkansas is the state with the highest divorce rate in the U.S. and definitely the other states that are in the top 5 are New Mexico, Wyoming, Kentucky, and West Virginia. So apparently, you don't want to go to Arkansas.
What is up with that?
Yeah. That's funny because I was going to pull up some stats too, but Mark, you're already knocking them down.
You already got it. You got you.
But they do say
that. I echo what you said, Gene. Man, I feel like I've really evolved, man, and I can go back now and reflect and look back in areas of my marriage that I was wrong, where I can accept responsibility for my errors of my ways, and things that I would have done better. You know,
right.
The version of me today would have done a better job of that. And now I can look back in some of my relationships and, you know, the 2 that I ran from, you know, that saw me as me, you know, saw that they were invested in me. If I had nothing else on the planet, they just knew I was the only Gary on the planet. So things that I would have done better now in those situations. So even my last relationship, there's so many things I've learned just in this short last few months that I know I would have done better at. So I would have been a stronger man for her. But, you know, we live and learn, man. You know, I've owned my mistakes and grown from them. So,
hey, Coach Gene, I'm a little bit confused because I was looking at these divorce statistics and some of them are not making mathematical sense. I'm going to tell you what I've found. And then y'all tell me how it works out because they're saying, I think it's something like 40 to 50% of first-time marriages end in divorce, and if you have a second-time marriages, the rate is even higher. But then when I look it up, but then when I look it up, it says that there are 14.56 divorces per 1,000 married women. So that's not that high of a percentage. So that's why I'm kind of confused because it says that after reached a 40-year record low for 2 consecutive years, which would have been 2020 and 2021. The divorce rate rose slightly in 2022 to 14.56 divorces per 1,000 married women. So I'm going like that doesn't add up from what I've heard and everything. So I'm very confused.
Well, I think men come out of divorce and remarry fairly quickly.
Gotcha.
And that's not necessarily a good thing because we don't take the time to deal with our trauma. We just talked about what divorce does to you. We don't take time to deal with that trauma and we're right back in another relationship. Whereas women will separate themselves and go out on an island, probably too far out deep in the dark, and isolate themselves. And then will maybe at some point circle back and remarry. But men will, in most cases, remarry faster than women do. But again, that's the detriment of the new relationship. That's why those stats are so staggering. The second marriage is so bad because really on both sides, people didn't take the time to heal.
And that's what they did say, because when I get into some further the things, they say about 50% of all marriages in the United States will end in divorce or separation. Researchers estimate that 41% of all first marriages end in divorce, 60% of second marriages end in divorce, and 73% of all third marriages end in divorce. And the United States has the 6th highest divorce rate in the world. So we're not at the top of the list, actually, a country that is...
Who's the highest?
Believe it or not, it's that country that's fighting the war. So Russia has got the highest crude divorce rate. Russia, Belarus. Yes, Russia, Belarus, and Gibraltar are up there ahead of us and everything. But yeah, there are a couple of countries that are ahead of us in that sense. So that's where the top 20 on this list that I'm looking at, it looks like we're about 4th, even though they said 6th. But Moldova is right below us, and Lithuania is right below us, and Cuba just below us is right below us at 2.9 and everything. But yeah, there are a number of countries that have it. But they break it down because they said that every 42 seconds, you heard me, every 42 seconds, there is one divorce in America. That equates to 86 divorces per hour, 2,046 divorces per day, and 14,364 divorces per week, and 746,971 divorces per year. So they and every 16 seconds there's a marriage in the U.S. So that equates to 230 marriages per hour, 36,762 marriages per week, and 2,015,603 per year. So there, every 16 seconds, there's somebody getting married somewhere.
Well, we live in a microwave society, so we're moving
Yes.
fast, and we're trying to hurry up and rush into things. So,
Mhm.
and then so that's the outcome is because of what's happening in the front side. So,
Right.
And that's the reason they said, because they said among all Americans 18 years of age or older, whether they have been married or not, 25% have gone through a marital split. So if they're not, like I said, I went through that with my parents and everything. So even if you've not been married yourself, 1 out of 4 have had an impact of a marital split.
I would say this. I personally, now that I've been through one marriage, I think that like people shouldn't get married until their 30s, like 30 to 35. Like that should be when you first get married, because you have to take into account that we are in a constant search from from childhood to about 30 or so to find ourselves.
Yeah.
Brain development.
Brain
You should be fully established in who you are before you decide to add another partner. So I tell people all the time, like, if I could go back in time and wait till I was like 30 to 35, I'd be in a better place. But you know, you live and you learn.
Hey, Gina, I got some bad news for you, because they even broke it down by professions and everything. And you'll be glad to know it's not musicians that are leading the divorce rate and everything, but it is another field that you know quite well because you have them involved in your videos and everything. But apparently, and I hate to tell this because I know we have a major activity that involves it here in Durham, North Carolina, but apparently dancers are leading the professions in with the highest divorce rate, because they're at 43% of the dancers get divorced.
Wow.
So dancers are leading, bartenders are right behind them, and I can see that because they hear all the stories and everything. And massage therapists are number 3, and then
I can see that too.
I can see that too. And then
they put their hands on everybody.
And then the third was, I've never heard of these careers, but gaming cage workers and gaming service workers are number 4 and 5. But I got good news for you, Coach G, because the field, and like I said, I've got some issues with some of your fields, but the field with the lowest divorce rate is farmers, podiatrists, speaking of people putting your hands on you, that's the feet and everything, and clergy. Clergy is number 3 in terms of the lowest amount, because they say that only 5.61% of the clergy get divorced, followed by optometrists, and the lowest of all is agricultural engineers. They only have like 1.78. So if you're in agriculture,
that surprises me about clergy, but okay.
No, it's not for me, because you got to think about the fact that the church tells you that divorce is a sin. Right. So you're going to stay in a marriage regardless if it's good for you or not. Whether the person is cheating on you or beating on you or not, you're taught to by this position to stay in a unhappy marriage. So
the institution teaches that. I guess from that perspective,
And they got some other interesting one. Entertainers, the overall field of entertainers falls in the middle. I think it's 28.4%.
Really?
28.4% is where it is. So it's in the kind of middle, and law enforcement is even lower. It's like 14.457%, and doctors and surgeons are at 9.23. So I can see the doctors.
I figured law enforcement would be way up there.
Yeah, I would think so too, but it says that law enforcement, and it varies, because it says that the bonus law enforcement and police divorce rate is 14.47%, while the rate for correction workers is 21.3. So if you go work at corrections, there's a good chance of possibility you're going to get divorced and everything.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, it makes sense. Man, I mean, we can have a whole nother conversation about how like jobs create trauma that affect your personal relationships.
You bring that home.
That's a whole nother show.
Yeah. And correctional facility, you see nothing but trauma all day.
You see nothing but trauma.
Exactly.
And there's been this whole conversation about, and people are trying to figure it out because it's all over the news, about people that decide to do other styles of life and everything. And they've got statistics for them as well. And right now they're saying that about 1% of married same-sex couples get divorced each year, while about 2% of married straight couples divorce. So they are not that far behind the rate and everything. So they're saying that lesbian couples are nearly twice as likely to end a marriage or civil union than gay male couples. So they're saying that the women are going like, no,
really?
I don't like
That's interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know this has been a hard topic, man, but I'm kind of excited about next week.
Yeah.
Race trauma.
Lord.
What kind of trauma?
Woo!
Race trauma.
Okay.
That's our topic for next week.
What
I
kind of trauma?
Race.
Race trauma.
Yes. Yeah.
By the way, just as we're heading out the door, they did give the reasons, and y'all love this, but and I don't know if y'all want to think about it, but they did a survey of the reasons that people were getting divorced and the percentages, and 73%, kind of what you were alluding to, Coach G, it was a lack of commitment. So lack of commitment was the number one reason. 56% said they argued too much. 55% blamed it on infidelity. 46% kind of said what y'all just said, which is that they married too young. 45% said there were unrealistic expectations. 44% said a lack of equality in the relationships, and 41% said lack of preparation, kind of what you were just talking about, for marriage and everything. And 25% said domestic violence or abuse. So that was actually the lowest amount, with that domestic violence or abuse. But there was a lot of that lack of preparation.
The lowest was abuse.
Domestic violence or abuse was the lowest. It was the number one reason for divorce was given was lack of commitment.
See, my top 5 was communication issues, infidelity, financial disagreements, incompatibility or differences in values, and number 5 being emotional and physical abuse. So, Gene, even in the list that I had prepared for us, I did a top 10, but it was number 5.
Yeah.
And even what y'all talking about religion, because they could go down there too, because they said if a person has strong religious beliefs, the risk of divorce is 14% less, and having no religious affiliation made you 14% more likely to get divorced. And if you were an evangelical Christian adult who had been married, there's a 26% likelihood that you've been divorced compared to 28% for Catholics and a 38% chance for non-Christians. So it varies depending on your style of religion as well.
Right.
Well, you gotta marry someone that you're equally yoked with. Now that's one thing faith teaches that I believe in. So,
agreed.
And even that equally yoked, because that even comes down to, since y'all gonna talk about race next week, sometimes people even in the race conversation are wondering about the political affiliations. Because I do know that there have been times that I have dated folks that I did not necessarily have the same political viewpoints as they did, but I found that it's usually easier if you are having that like-minded kind of belief system. And apparently they're saying that and I can see this too, that conservatives are least likely to be divorced probably because of the way the conservatives paint divorce and everything, where they say liberals are 37% and moderates are 33%. But I can see where the conservatives would be the least likely to get divorced, just because of the way that a lot of times they paint divorce as being a negative part of society.
As a sin.
Right.
Well, man, I appreciate you, Gene and Mark. I mean, Gene, really, for being vulnerable, man. I know divorce and separation, parental alienation, which we didn't dive too much into today, but man.
But we did.
You know, well, I know we did. Yeah. I mean, that's just powerful, man, that, you know, men are going through some real pain out there. You know, there's some good fathers out there that want to see their kids, and you know, and just some have done some stuff and need to do some work on themselves. But I would even say there's an overwhelming majority that have done nothing, and it's just it's manipulation on the part of the mother that are keeping the father from the child. But bro, I'm just telling you from experience, being a counselor, being a coach, being a minister, that will come full circle when, you know, the child reaches an age of majority and they can start thinking for themselves and get some separation from the noise and make decisions for themselves. Then that family member, that, you know, that parent that kept the child from the other parent, oh, you got hell to pay. You got hell to pay.
Run it on yourself.
Gene, if I remember correctly, aren't you in the same area roughly as where your daughter is and everything? Like you're in the same general area?
Yeah, like she lives 20-25 minutes away from me. So yeah.
And this is where I will put a little bit of caveat to what you just said, Coach, because I do know that some of that manipulation is very real, because I have seen that firsthand, not directly, but as I just mentioned with my cousin, he's in the Atlanta area, Atlanta, DC
Mm-hmm.
area, and everything. His daughter is in Chicago, so I do know that they have been separated for a long time, and unfortunately, he has not had a chance to do that kind of healing that you're talking about, Coach G, because of the distance that is there and the way that her his ex-wife and everything did the manipulation. So I don't even think that they talk that much, and she's definitely separated, not just from her family. I want to say that when her own, yeah, I don't think, yeah, matter of fact, I know she didn't, because they both passed not that long ago. When both of her grandparents passed, which would have been his mother and father, my aunts, she was nowhere to be found at the funeral, because I don't even think that she was given the notice, and definitely she was manipulated in such a way that she was not allowed to come to mourn the loss of her own grandparents and all in that place. And that was done within the last, I think, Carolyn might have been about 2 years ago, and Uncle Skip might have been about, she was before, so he might have been about 2.5, and she might have been about a year and a half ago. But it's been a while, sometime back, and she was nowhere near those services.
That's a tragedy.
Yeah,
Very,
it is.
tragedy. And the person who has, what's the word I'm looking for? Who's created this separation? Like, I would imagine that the suffering that they experience deep down is ripping them apart. And the thing is, like, it's a self-created reality. You've created this reality where you've created a dissonance between a child and their parent, and man, it's like you not only have you created a hell. Oh crap! All right, so my tablet's gonna die soon, guys. But you created a dissonance between a child and a parent that is meant to help guide and direct their lives. So not only have you created a chasm in their development, but you've also created a boomerang effect where you're going to have to suffer for what you've created. Everything has an equal and opposite reaction. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. That is a universal law. Anything that you do has a consequence, whether it's good or bad.
Right.
So understand, you do dirt, you get dirt.
You get dirt back, and not only that, like you just said, they have totally been separated from an entire side of their family that they may never know and everything. Because, like I said, it's not just the aunt and uncle that I was referring to, but I know that my mom and her sisters have had very little to no dealing with that particular individual as well. So that's what I'm saying. They've lost an entire side of their family that then who knows whether they're, hopefully at some point they will realize that. And we've all heard the stories about people that later on as they grow up and realize that they reach out, but sometimes that's decades or multiple decades in the line and everything. But hopefully at some point they will realize that and reach out to one of their cousins or reach out to one of their fellow family members and try to learn more about that side of the family that they have been alienated from and self-alienated from.
Right. That's part of their familial history.
Mm-hmm.
So they're missing out on a part of themselves that makes who they are.
Right.
Like your DNA and those people who are connected to that are part of what makes you who you are.
Right.
And when you've been consciously taken away from that, then you lose a part of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, that's what I'm going through right now. And I know it's going to end soon. It's been tough dealing with this 3-year separation from my children. Like they're missing out on part of their own development because they've never really even gotten to spend time, like even in the context
their
of
father.
relationship. Yeah. And my side of the family.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a lot of, like my daughter looks just like me, minus the facial hair. There was a lot more hair. But like, you don't get to understand what made me be the person that I am. And that makes up part of who you are. And that's just, Man, we could be on this all day, man.
I hear you, bro.
Yeah, we can talk about this all day long, like it's hit and everything. Because it's definitely something that people deal with on a regular basis and all
on the regular.
On the regular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, man,
okay. My tablet's on 3%, guys.
We're a little over our time anyway, and I think I'm out of courage. So
I know. I need to go
no problem. We can ready to hit the popular video, and hopefully Gene's tablet will let him see it. But if not, we'll just go without and everything. But we'll see. But we'll get on out of here, and we'll be back with more conversation. This time about the male bonding and from a race perspective on next week and everything. But this was been a very deep conversation, and we'll get on out of here and go out with Gene's video. And I know I'll see Gene tomorrow on Where's the Love, all about bullying and all along those
lines. Where's the love? Yeah. All right, peace. It's your boy, Coach G.
Hey, peace and love. Thank you all for joining.
The police took another life. Gunshots rang out, even though he had his hands held high. Yo, I'm sick and tired to walk my brother's short lines. Need to come together, set a plan, and then mobilize. Oh, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do about all the hell that we're going through? God stand up, shout out into the walls of Babel on the feet. Stand up, come on y'all, and let's make some history. Stand up, rise up and know you ain't gotta follow, you can lead. Stand up y'all, we can do this, you and me. Monsanto monopolized the whole grocery line. So we all gon' have 12 toes, 3 thumbs, 3 eyes. If we keep being sheep, these wolves are gon' rob us blind. Let's occupy our mind space, cause the revolution won't be televised. Oh, what are we gon' do? What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do about all the hell that we're going through? God stand up, shout out into the walls of Babel on the feet. Stand up, y'all, we can do this, you and me. Stand up, rise up and know you ain't gotta follow, you can lead. Stand up, y'all, we can do this, you and me. Oh, mercy, mercy me. The government should nurture all that we. When will all these wars be done? Hopefully before the building gonna have the money. Yeah. Before another mother has one person. Shout out into the walls of Babel on the feet. Stand up, come on y'all, and let's make some history. Stand up, rise up, you know you ain't gotta follow, you can lead. Stand up, y'all, we can do this, you and me. Stand up, shout out into the walls of Babel on the feet. Stand up, come on y'all, and let's make some history. Stand up, rise up, you know you ain't gotta follow.